Hi, I'd like to tell you 5 things not to say to your children so that you can create a relationship with them. The ultimate thing we want as moms is to cultivate a relationship with our children so that they learn to trust us, come to us when they need to, and be heard by us. So these are 5 things not to say if you truly want to create a relationship with your child that is more about connection than correction, right? You might have heard that term, connect before you correct. This is so key, and this is something that took me a while to learn. So I'm hoping these 5 things can just cut to the chase for you. And I'm also going to tell you what they teach your child, which is ultimately, right, what we want is we want to teach them ways to engage in life, not just shut them down, even if we know they're making a poor mistake or a poor choice, given constraints, right? Nothing dangerous or anything like that, but we have to allow our children to find their way, but we also need them to want to come to us and discuss things with us and ask for our opinion and not just be lecturing them all the time, right? So let's get started. If we haven't met yet, my name is Christy Conradie. I am the creator and host of this channel, Motherhood Made Simple, where you can experience more ease, grace, and joy in your life and motherhood journey. So let's get to it. 5 things not to say. You may have been saying these things, so please, no guilt, no shame, no judgment. Just learn new ways. That's it, right? So one of the things, number one is, when I was growing up, blah, 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 right? I don't know how many times I've said that to my own children. When I was growing up, we did it this way. When I was growing up, this didn't happen. When I was growing up, my parents or my school or my friends or whatever you say after that statement isn't going to be heard. It's just not. They will shut down. They will tune out and you just start lecturing. We don't want to just lecture our children, right? We want to engage with them. So instead of saying, when I was growing up, blah, 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 and you give your perspective, ask them questions instead. You want them to have a voice. You want them to learn how to negotiate with you because you want them to learn how to negotiate with other people. You want them to be heard, right? How are they going to be heard if they don't get to share with you what they're experiencing and giving you their perspective on things, right? Because the other thing, our children are living in the present moment with a present circumstance or a feeling or a predicament. And when we say, when I was growing up, we immediately stop hearing and seeing them. It's all about us now. And we've gone back to the past. Our children aren't living in the past. They're living in the present, and they want us to engage with them. They want to be felt. They want to be seen. So just take that one out of your lexicon, if you will, right? Don't say that. Second one you don't want to say is, you think it's bad. What about all the people that da 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 da? You don't have it that bad. There are millions of other kids, children, families, whatever, and then you fill in the blank, right? This really minimizes our children's experience and doesn't connect them to what they're feeling. They'll learn to bypass the feeling. That's the opposite of what we actually want, right? We want them to be able to tune in. We want them to be able to share with us what they are experiencing, even if we think it's not necessarily that significant given the scope of the world's problems. But in that moment, when your child really needs to experience and explain and be felt, right? By telling you something. This is not the time to compare your child's experience with someone else's. This can also trigger shame and blame in our children because they're going to feel bad for feeling what they feel when it's not as big of a problem as someone else's. And that is nothing on our agenda as moms, right? We really don't want our children to feel that way. So when they come to you with that kind of experience, ask them more questions about it, and then try to right size their predicament or whatever they're sharing. Try to give them some new perspective, if you will, instead of shutting them down and comparing their experience to someone else. Tune in, connect to them, ask more questions, get them to clarify. And then you can come in with connection, with the idea of building relationship, and cultivate empathy, model empathy and compassion with them, empathize with them. I am so sorry this is happening. How can I help? Or what would you like to be doing instead of this problem, whatever they're saying? Get them to engage with how they're feeling. Get them to notice how they're feeling. What does it feel like in their body if they're angry, sad, upset? That's ultimately what we want as moms, right? We want them to identify what they're feeling, check in with themselves, and then share that in right-sized proportion, if you will. But they're only going to learn that if we allow them to speak and to share, and then model back to them an empathetic or a compassionate way to deal with whatever they're communicating to us. So that's number 2. Number 3, I can't stand it when you blah, 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 right? We're usually angry. We're usually frustrated at this point. And now we've just projected a big emotion onto our child when, yes, they may be irritating. Yes, they may be doing something we don't like and we're frustrated for the 100th time or whatever it is, right? We've all been there. Sidebar caveat here. I'm telling you 5 things not to say. It doesn't mean you're never going to say them. You will. Just catch yourself. Practice catching yourself when you hear yourself saying these things, okay? And then just don't say them as often. That's even a goal, right? I just want to give you choices as a mom to have more ways to communicate and connect with your child so that you can do the correcting of behavior or attitude or choice making, but you have to connect first. Okay, so back to number 3. You make me so angry, or I can't stand it when, and then you go on and tell them. They won't know what to do with your emotion coming at them. And in fact, it will often make their emotion bigger and they'll give it right back to you. And now you've got a tug of war and a big emotional upset happening. The opposite of what you really want, right? And your child's not going to learn from your big emotion. They're just going to block it and get their own big emotion back out. And you just have this ping pong match going back and forth with no real communicating or connecting. So you can say things like, really struggling when you say and do this, and I'm trying to learn a new way to connect with you and to hear you. Can you tell me that again in another way? Or I'd love it if when you're upset, you, whatever your child is, right? You can look at me and say, I'm really upset, Mom. I'm really struggling here, Mom. I'm really frustrated, Mom. Because really, if you really look at what's happening when you go back at them with that statement of, I'm so frustrated when you, that's how they're feeling. They've just invoked in you what they're feeling, and you've just given it back to them, and nothing really happened. So Instead, try to tune in with what they're feeling. Repeat back to them, I noticed, man, you're really frustrated here. I get it. This is really challenging. I'd love to help you. I really want to help you. Can we communicate in a different way? Can you ask me again? Help them connect back to their self first. Get out of that angry, upset mind that they're in, or the frustration, or the hurt, sadness, whatever's provoking that statement in you to come back at them. Take a deep breath, reconnect, and then ask them to state what they want again. This has been said many, many times, like especially if your child's having a tantrum and, kicking and hitting, not necessarily hitting you, of course, but just so angry and mad and just projecting all kinds of words at you or upset at you or whatever, and you're not going to be able to connect with them in that moment. You have to get them to calm down first. Ask them to say, look, I want to help you. I really want to help you. I can't hear you and understand you when you're too upset. Can we connect first to ourselves? Take a few deep breaths and then ask me again what you would like my help with so I can help you. And if they say nothing's wrong, fine, let them go. Don't chase after them. Don't engage with them. You can kindly say, I'm here when you're ready. I'm here. That's it. That's all you got to say. Just don't say back to them that feeling that they've provoked in you. Again, you want to model a better way to engage in personality differences or upsets or frustrations. So having these few things in your toolbox are going to help you. Okay, number 4, don't forget to do your homework. Don't forget, I'm picking you up at 5 o'clock. Don't forget to get the mail on your way home, whatever it is. Don't. The mind doesn't know don't. It doesn't recognize don't. All it hears is what comes after the don't. So if you say, don't forget to pick up the mail, they're going to hear, forget to pick up the mail. Their mind will, right? We have to learn as moms to state what we do want. We want to focus on telling our children what it is we want them to do. So instead of saying, don't forget to pick up the mail on your way home today, instead say, hey, can you remember on your way home to pick up the mail? It would be really helpful to me. Add some emotional attachment too. Make sure that they heard you. Make sure that they respond with, yeah, I'll do that. Ask them, did you hear what I just said? Because it's really going to help me out if you can get the mail for me on the way home, or whatever it is you're requesting of them. Remember, as moms, we want to focus more on cultivating and co-creating with our child wanted behaviors, wanted experiences, and less time struggling in what we don't want. That's a change in perspective we have to bring to the picture, okay? We are the ones that are going to reframe don'ts into wants. And this is what number 4 is all about. Just remove that word don't from your vocabulary. Every time you catch yourself with a don't, stop, think again, rephrase the don't into a wanted experience, and then ask your child to do whatever it is that you want them to do, because that's going to get you more of a positive outcome than a don't. Also, our kids will learn to tune out any don'ts. They're just going to hear it too many times, and their brain is going to say, oh, there she goes again. Oh, no, I'm not listening. No. It's just an automatic response. It's not that they're trying to be disobedient. They're not trying to be disrespectful. This was something I really learned in so many parenting books. Our children want to connect to us. Our children want to do well. They want to make the right decisions. We need to create the conditions so that they can do the right thing. Let's help our children set up what we want to have happen instead of resisting us from all the don'ts and the worries that we will say to our children instead. So that's number 4. And the 5th thing is, if you never do X, this will never happen. Ultimatums kind of thing, right? If you don't get your homework done, you're not going to pass tests. If you don't take all these kinds of classes, you're never going to get into the college of your dreams and your life is never going to turn out. If you don't eat all your vegetables, your body is going to shut down and not do well, and you're going to get sick, right? I mean, the list is endless, what we do to our kids in these kinds of phrases. Instead, what are we supposed to do, right? Give them options. Ultimately, we want our children to focus on options, not limitations. We don't really know factually if these ultimatums are actually going to be what happens. There are so many variables that go into our children's lives. And when we issue ultimatums, we're basically boxing in our kids. They're going to feel it. You don't even have to say it. They're going to feel it and they're going to constrict and they're going to shut down. That's the opposite of what we want to be happening, right? We want them to see options. We want them, if they're not doing their homework, for instance, let's just take that one, instead of saying, if you don't do your homework, then this and this and this is going to happen, and I'm going to take away your privileges, or you're going to stay home on Friday night, or you can't go to your friend's play date, whatever it is. I know this one is something you've probably struggled with. I did too. We want to give an ultimatum as if we think that's going to work. Sometimes it does, and sometimes you do have to do this. I'm not saying never do this. I'm just saying, in the instances when you can get your child to respond to you and communicate to you what they're feeling that's preventing them from doing their homework, for instance, or procrastinating, that is a win. The more we can get our children to communicate to us, to tune into what they're actually feeling, to learn how to use their language, their mind, in positive ways by us modeling, asking questions, engaging with them, not reacting to them. The more we can do that, our children will naturally, key here, naturally learn how to communicate and connect with us and create positive outcomes for both. We have to remember that our children do have an innate guidance system that wants to do well. Most children do not come into the world saying, I'm going to make my mom and dad so mad at me, and I'm going to do this so that everyone doesn't like what I do. No, that's a learned behavior. It's a learned response when our children don't feel connected to, when they don't have a way to learn how to communicate what they're feeling in a way that creates a respectable conversation. That's all coming from us. We are our child's teacher. We just have to connect and slow down ourselves. Practice some of these new ways to learn how to communicate to your child. I do have a blog post that I have written, so you can go and read my blog post, print it off for more valuable information besides this video that I just shared. It'll be in the description box below. Go and check it out, print it off, and practice. Because ultimately, you do want your child to have a voice and learn how to negotiate. You do want your child to come up with options and not live from limitations and ultimatums, right? You do want your child to know how to create wanted outcomes and not just shut down with don'ts, right? You want your child to have compassion and empathy for themselves as well as for other people. You want to help them right size their upsets so that they can deal with things in a manageable manner, right? These are all what we truly want as moms with our children. It starts by learning what not to say and reprogramming ourselves with what to say. So I hope you found these 5 things valuable. I hope there's something you can take away. If you need more information, check out my blog post, and I'll see you again with another video to help you connect before you correct and build the relationship you want with your child in meaningful ways. All right, bye for now.